First Contact's Price. The Nexeri Empire's chief strategist, Commander Zerak, stood on the bridge of the Dominion-class warship, his scaled fingers drumming against the command console. The holographic display showed Earth's solar system, humanity's cradle, and soon, their grave. His mandibles clicked in anticipation as he studied the primitive defenses around the third planet. "Pathetic," he muttered, addressing his bridge crew. "Their most advanced satellites can barely detect our approach. Their weapons are centuries behind ours. This will be the easiest conquest in Imperial history." The Nexeri fleet had conquered 17 civilizations across 3 spiral arms of the galaxy. Each victory had been swift, decisive, and absolute. Humanity would be no different, just another primitive species to be subjugated under the Empire's expanding reach. But as the fleet of 30 warships dropped out of hyperspace at the edge of the solar system, something unexpected appeared on their sensors. A single ship, barely the size of a Nexeri scout vessel, emerged from behind Mars' orbit. "Commander," his sensor officer called out, mandibles twitching in confusion. "The human vessel. It's hailing us." Zerak's inner eyelids flickered in amusement. "Put them through. Let's hear their surrender." The communications channel crackled to life, and a calm human voice filled the bridge. "This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth Defense Force vessel Hyperion. You have entered restricted space. Turn back now." Laughter rippled across the bridge. A single ship, threatening the might of the Nexeri Empire. Zerak's throat sac expanded in mirth. Brave words from a dead species. "Your primitive vessel cannot hope to." His words cut off as the Hyperion's energy signature suddenly spiked. Before anyone could react, a beam of concentrated plasma sliced through space, cutting one of the Nexeri destroyers clean in half. The explosion rocked nearby ships, and chaos erupted on the bridge. "Impossible," Zerak hissed, his scales darkening in rage. "Their technology level. They shouldn't have weapons like that. All ships, open fire." But the Hyperion was already moving, its engines leaving trails of blue fire as it weaved between the massive Nexeri warships. Its speed and maneuverability defied everything the Empire knew about human technological capabilities. More plasma beams lashed out, precise and devastating. "Sir," his tactical officer shouted, "their targeting systems are more advanced than ours. They're hitting our weak points with surgical precision." 3 more Nexeri ships exploded in rapid succession. The Hyperion danced through the debris field, using the remnants of destroyed vessels as cover. Each shot it fired found its mark, while the Nexeri's return fire hit nothing but empty space. Zerak's mind raced. Everything they knew about Earth was wrong. The humans hadn't been developing primitive chemical rockets and basic energy weapons. They'd been building something far more dangerous, and they'd hidden it perfectly, letting the galaxy see only what they wanted it to see. "Sir, more ships incoming." The sensor officer's voice cracked with fear. From behind Earth's moon, a fleet of vessels similar to the Hyperion emerged. Dozens, then hundreds of ships, each one equipped with the same devastating weapons. "It's a trap," Zerak realized too late. "They knew we were coming. They've been preparing for us." Captain Chen's voice came through the comm again, no longer calm but filled with steel. "The Nexeri Empire isn't the first to underestimate humanity, Commander, but you might be the last. All ships, engage." The space around Earth erupted in fire as humanity revealed its true strength. The Nexeri fleet, caught between the hammer of the Hyperion and the anvil of Earth's hidden armada, began to break apart. Their formations, designed to intimidate and overwhelm primitive opponents, meant nothing against an enemy that could match and exceed their technological capabilities. As his ship shuddered under another direct hit, Zerak finally understood the magnitude of their mistake. The humans hadn't been hiding from the galaxy out of fear or weakness. They'd been watching, learning, and preparing. Every scrap of intelligence about Earth's capabilities had been carefully crafted to create this moment, to ensure that when the first alien empire finally came to conquer them, Humanity would be ready. Full retreat, Zarek ordered, but it was too late. The human fleet had already surrounded them, cutting off their escape routes. The mighty Nexari Empire, which had never known defeat, was about to learn a harsh lesson about underestimating their prey. The battle that followed would be remembered across the galaxy as the day humanity announced its true presence among the stars. Not as victims or subjects, but as warriors who had outmaneuvered one of the greatest empires in known space. And as his ship's systems began to fail around him, Commander Zarek realized that this wasn't just a military defeat, it was the beginning of something much bigger. Humanity had just demonstrated that they were not only capable of defending themselves, but had the power to reshape the balance of galactic power. The age of easy conquest was over. Humanity had arrived. The hidden protocol. Deep within Earth's Lunar Defense Command, Dr. Maya Patel stood before a wall of holographic displays, her dark eyes reflecting the chaos of battle unfolding above. But unlike the Nexari commanders watching their fleet crumble, she wasn't surprised. She was proud. At last, she called out to the chamber's AI interface, "Status report on Protocol Omega." The room hummed as the most advanced artificial intelligence ever created by human hands processed the request. Protocol Omega operating at 98.7% efficiency, Atlas responded, its voice carrying the depth of quantum computing power. The Nexari fleet's tactical algorithms have been completely mapped. Their attack patterns are now predictable to within 99.2% accuracy. Maya nodded, watching as another Nexari warship fell to the precisely coordinated attacks of Earth's defense fleet. Atlas had been her life's work, not just an AI, but a learning system that could analyze and counter any alien technology it encountered. For decades, Earth had intercepted and studied signals from advanced civilizations, feeding every scrap of data into Atlas's neural networks. The Nexari never realized that their own communication signals, their weapons' signatures, even their shield frequencies had been teaching humanity how to defeat them long before they arrived. Dr. Patel, Captain Chen's voice crackled through the comm. The Hyperion's quantum sensors are detecting power fluctuations in the enemy flagship. They're preparing something big. Maya's fingers flew across the holographic interface, pulling up detailed scans. The Nexari flagship was indeed gathering energy, but in a pattern Atlas had never seen before. "They're desperate," she muttered. Atlas, analysis. Energy signature suggests a gravity weapon. The AI responded instantly. "They intend to create a localized singularity to tear apart our fleet." However, there was an almost human note of satisfaction in Atlas's voice. "Their desperation has made them predictable. Calculating countermeasures now." The main display showed the Nexari flagship's core beginning to pulse with dark energy. Commander Zarek was willing to risk his own ship to turn the tide of battle. But Maya had anticipated this possibility years ago. "Captain Chen," Maya called out, "activate Protocol Lambda. All ships, switch to quantum-linked shields." The Earth fleet's formation shifted smoothly, their ships moving in perfect synchronization. As the Nexari weapon discharged, creating a swirling vortex of gravitational force, the human vessel's shields linked together, creating a unified energy field that dispersed the gravitational attack harmlessly into subspace. "Impossible." Zarek's voice boomed across all frequencies. "How did you?" "We've had years to study you," Maya responded, allowing herself a small smile. "Every signal you broadcast, every weapon you used on other worlds, it all taught us how to fight you. Atlas has been learning from your empire's mistakes long before you knew we existed." The AI's presence filled the command center as it coordinated the final phase of humanity's counterattack. The Earth fleet's weapons synchronized, their targeting computers linked directly to Atlas's quantum processors. In space, the Hyperion and its sister ships moved with impossible precision, exploiting weaknesses in the Nexari defenses that only a superintelligent AI could identify. "Dr. Patel," Atlas announced, I've identified the optimal attack pattern to disable the remaining Nexari vessels without destroying them. Shall I proceed? Maya looked at the tactical display, at the once mighty alien fleet now trapped by their own arrogance. Do it. Show them what humanity and AI can accomplish together. The battle that followed was less a fight than a demonstration of technological artistry. Every human ship moved in perfect coordination, their weapons firing in precisely timed sequences that overwhelmed the Nexari shields while minimizing damage to their vital systems. It was the difference between a brawl and a surgical strike. Within minutes, the remaining Nexari ships hung powerless in space, their engines and weapons disabled by attacks so precise they seemed almost impossible. Commander Zarak's flagship, the pride of the Imperial fleet, drifted helplessly as Earth's vessels surrounded it. Protocol Omega complete, Atlas announced. The Nexari fleet has been neutralized with minimal loss of life on either side. Shall I open a channel to accept their surrender? Maya nodded, but her mind was already racing forward. The Nexari were just the beginning. Other empires would come, drawn by the revelation of Earth's true power. But with Atlas continuing to learn and evolve, humanity would be ready. They thought we were primitive because we stayed quiet, she mused. They never considered we might be silent not out of weakness, but because we were listening, learning, preparing. The stars seemed brighter now as Maya looked up through the lunar dome. Humanity had revealed itself to the galaxy, and nothing would ever be the same. The age of hiding was over. The age of humanity's ascension had begun. Breaking formation. Lieutenant James "Ghost" Rodriguez smiled as his experimental stealth fighter slipped between the disabled Nexari vessels. While the main fleet had the enemy's attention, his Shadow Squadron had been waiting for this moment. They were humanity's wild card. Pilots trained in combat techniques that no alien race had ever encountered. Shadow Squad, execute pattern Sigma, he whispered into his neural link. Let's show them why they call us ghosts. His squadron's ships were tiny compared to the capital vessels engaged in the main battle, but they carried something far more dangerous than conventional weapons. Each was equipped with prototype phase drives that could briefly shift them partially out of normal spacetime, making them virtually impossible to track or target. Remember, Ghost transmitted to his squad, we only need to hold phase for 3 seconds at a time. Any longer and the drives will overload. Time your shifts with Atlas's firing solutions. The 12 ships of Shadow Squadron activated their phase drives simultaneously, their hulls taking on a translucent, ethereal quality. They slipped through the Nexari's energy shields as if they weren't there, their presence registering as nothing more than sensor ghosts. Commander Zarak, still reeling from the devastating effectiveness of Earth's main fleet, didn't even notice the infiltration until it was too late. Shadow Squadron rematerialized inside the Nexari formation, their ships practically touching the hulls of the massive alien vessels. What manner of devilry is this? Zarak's voice crackled across the command channel as his sensors finally detected the human fighters literally within his fleet's defensive perimeter. Just some old Earth magic, Ghost replied with a grin. Shadow Squad, deploy the Hornets. From each fighter, swarms of microdrones emerged, another human innovation that had been kept secret until this moment. Each drone was barely larger than a human hand, but carried an electromagnetic pulse generator powerful enough to disrupt Nexari systems. The alien crews watched in horror as clouds of tiny machines phased through their hull plating, bypassing their most sophisticated defenses as if they were made of smoke. The Hornets targeted crucial systems, weapons, engines, and most importantly, the quantum communication arrays that kept the Nexari fleet coordinated. Their formations are breaking, Atlas reported through the neural link. Shadow Squadron's attack has reduced their combat effectiveness by 67% and falling. Ghost watched with satisfaction as the mighty Nexari warships began to drift out of alignment, their crews struggling to maintain control as systems failed across their vessels. The aliens had expected a frontal assault, a test of raw firepower. Instead, they were being dismantled from within by an enemy they couldn't even fight. "This is impossible." A Nexari captain's voice cut through the chaos. "Our shields, our hulls, nothing stops them. You built your defenses to stop physical attacks," Ghost transmitted back. "But humanity learned long ago that the strongest wall is useless if you can simply walk through it." The phase technology had been humanity's most closely guarded secret, developed not through brute force advancement, but by thinking differently about the nature of space and matter itself. While other races focused on building bigger ships and stronger weapons, Earth's scientists had asked different questions. Why fight through a shield when you could slit between its atoms? Why match an enemy's firepower when you could simply bypass it entirely? Shadow Squadron continued their deadly dance, phasing in and out of normal space as they deployed their Hornet swarms. Each time they shifted, they appeared in a new position, striking at vital systems before vanishing again like specters. The Nexari, for all their technological might, had no defense against an enemy that could literally ghost through their strongest protections. "Sir," one of Ghost's pilots called out, "their backup systems are starting to adapt. They're trying to reconfigure their shields to detect our phase signatures." Ghost nodded. They'd expected this. Even the most sophisticated alien technology had limits to how quickly it could evolve new defenses. "That's our cue for Stage 2. Shadow Squad, initiate Protocol Wraith." The fighters regrouped, their phase drives humming as they prepared for one final coordinated attack. This time, when they shifted, they took something with them. Specifically, carefully calculated sections of the Nexari ship's outer hull plating. As Shadow Squadron phased back into normal space, chunks of alien armor simply vanished with them, leaving gaping holes in the Nexari vessel's defenses. The message was clear. If humanity could remove parts of their ships at will, what else could they do? "This is Lieutenant Rodriguez to command," Ghost transmitted. "Phase warfare demonstration complete. The enemy's defense grid is compromised. Main fleet can commence final approach." As his squadron regrouped near the Hyperion, Ghost reflected on how thoroughly humanity had changed the rules of space combat in a single battle. The Nexari had brought their most powerful weapons, their strongest shields, their most advanced technology, and humanity had simply stepped through them like morning mist. The age of conventional space warfare was over. Shadow Squadron had proven that humanity's greatest strength wasn't in the power of their weapons, but in their ability to think beyond the boundaries of what their enemies believed possible. The Admiral's Gambit. Admiral Elena Reyes stood at the helm of the EDF Artemis, her weathered face illuminated by the tactical displays showing the chaos of battle. Shadow Squadron had done their job perfectly, leaving the Nexari fleet in disarray. Now it was time for the final phase of humanity's response. "Dr. Patel," she called through the quantum comm, "is Atlas ready for Operation Checkmate?" "Yes, Admiral." Maya's voice came back clear and confident. "The AI has mapped every centimeter of the Nexari flagship's interior from the Hornet drone scans. We can get you inside." Reyes nodded, her gray eyes fixed on the massive form of the Nexari command ship. What she was about to attempt was either brilliant or suicidal, perhaps both. But sometimes the best way to end a war was to look your enemy in the eye. "Captain Chen." "Lieutenant Rodriguez, prepare for synchronized maneuver," she ordered. "Phase generators at maximum capacity." The Artemis, a ship unlike any other in Earth's fleet, moved into position. While the Hyperion and Shadow Squadron had demonstrated humanity's offensive capabilities, the Artemis represented something else entirely, the culmination of Earth's phase technology research. "Admiral," Atlas's voice filled the bridge. "I must warn you that attempting a phase shift with a vessel of this size has never been tested outside simulation. Sometimes the best test is the real thing," Reyes replied, allowing herself a small smile. "Initiate countdown. All hands, prepare for phase transition." The Artemis's engines pulsed with strange energy as its experimental drive spooled up. Unlike the fighters of Shadow Squadron, which could only phase for seconds at a time, the Artemis had been built around a massive phase core that could maintain the shift far longer. Theoretically, phase shift in 3, 2, 1. Reality seemed to blur around them as the massive ship shifted partially out of normal spacetime. The sensation was disorienting, like trying to focus on a dream while awake. Through the view screens, the universe took on an ethereal quality, with normal matter appearing as ghostly outlines. "Take us in," Rise commanded, right through their front door. The Artemis moved forward, its massive bulk passing through the Nexari flagship's outer hull like smoke through a screen. The alien crew, already rattled by Shadow Squadron's attacks, could only watch in horror as a human warship literally phased through their defenses. By the first stars, Commander Zarek's voice crackled across all frequencies as the Artemis materialized directly in his ship's main hangar bay. "What have you done?" "Open diplomatic relations," Rise responded dryly. "I suggest you power down your weapons and prepare to receive visitors. Unless you'd prefer we demonstrate what else this ship can phase through." The threat wasn't idle. The Artemis could, theoretically, phase its way through the flagship's reactor core. The fact that such an action would likely destroy both ships was beside the point. The Nexari didn't know that the phase technology was still highly experimental. "You're bluffing," Zarek shot back, but there was uncertainty in his voice. No species can maintain a phase field around a vessel that size. The power requirements alone would be impossible. Rise finished for him. "Just like our weapons were impossible. Our shields. Our AI. Commander, I suggest you stop telling us what humans can't do. We've made quite a career out of proving aliens wrong about that." There was a long pause as Zarek considered his options. His mighty fleet had been neutralized by fighters they couldn't hit and drones they couldn't stop. Now an enemy warship had materialized inside his flagship's secured hangar bay. Everything he thought he knew about warfare, about what was possible, had been upended in a single battle. "What are your terms?" he finally asked, his voice heavy with the weight of unprecedented defeat. "Simple," Rise replied. "You and I are going to have a conversation about the future, about how the galaxy is going to change now that humanity has decided to stop hiding, and about how the Nexari Empire can either adapt to this new reality or be left behind by it." As her strike team prepared to secure a path to the Nexari bridge, Rise reflected on the elegance of their victory. Earth's forces hadn't just defeated the Nexari, they had broken their understanding of what was possible. And in doing so, they had achieved something far more valuable than a military victory. They had earned respect. Victory's price. The Nexari flagship's bridge was a study in contrasts. On one side stood Commander Zarek, his scaled form rigid with barely contained fury and wounded pride. On the other, Admiral Alina Rice sat calmly in a chair that had been phased in with her strike team, her posture relaxed but alert. "Your empire has conquered 17 civilizations," Rice began, her voice carrying across the tension-filled chamber. "Each time, you arrived with overwhelming force, expecting an easy victory. Today, you learned what happens when you underestimate humanity." Through the bridge's massive viewport, the aftermath of battle painted a stark picture. Disabled Nexari ships drifted in formation with their Earth counterparts, their once mighty weapons silent. The Hyperion and its sister ships maintained their defensive positions, while Shadow Squadron's fighters phased in and out of visibility like digital ghosts. "What you call defeat," Zarek responded, mandibles clicking in agitation. "We call an opportunity to learn. The Empire adapts. Next time." "There won't be a next time." Dr. Maya Patel's voice cut in through the quantum comm. "Atlas has already transmitted the specifications of our phase technology to every world the Nexari Empire has conquered. Your subjects now have the means to resist." Zarek's scales darkened in shock. "You wouldn't dare destabilize an entire sector of space." "We already have," Rise replied. "But we've also transmitted something else, an invitation. Earth is proposing a new kind of alliance, one built on cooperation and mutual defense rather than conquest. On cue, Atlas projected a holographic display showing the sector map. Already, signals were coming in from the supposedly subjugated worlds. Not declarations of independence or calls for revolution, but something more profound. Acceptance of humanity's invitation. Your empire's greatest mistake, Lieutenant Rodriguez added from his position by the door, wasn't attacking Earth. It was assuming that power only comes from domination. Humanity learned long ago that true strength lies in unity. The implication slowly dawned on Zorak. In a single battle, humanity hadn't just defeated the Nexari fleet, they had fundamentally altered the balance of power in the galaxy. Every subjugated world now had access to technology that could resist imperial control, backed by the promise of Earth's protection. "What do you want?" Zorak finally asked, his earlier arrogance replaced by grudging respect. Admiral Reyes stood, her movement causing the Nexari guards to tense. "We want what we've always wanted, to explore, to learn, to grow. The Nexari Empire can be part of that future, or it can stand against the tide of change. The choice is yours." Through the quantum link, Atlas's voice carried a note of what almost sounded like satisfaction. The probability of additional hostile actions from the Nexari Empire has dropped to less than 2%. They understand now. Indeed, something had changed in Zorak's posture. The proud Imperial commander looked at the humans around him with new eyes, finally seeing not primitive upstarts, but equals who had outmaneuvered his entire civilization. "The Empire," he began, then corrected himself. "I accept your proposal, but know this. We will be watching, learning, as you have learned from us." "Good," Reyes nodded. "That's exactly what we're counting on. The galaxy is entering a new age, Commander. The age of single-species empires is over. It's time for something greater." As the formal surrender was processed and plans for the new alliance began to take shape, Captain Jen's voice came through on a private channel to Reyes. "Admiral, was this the plan all along? To use the Nexari's attack as a catalyst for galactic reorganization?" Reyes smiled slightly. "Humanity's greatest strength isn't our technology, Sarah. It's our ability to turn every challenge into an opportunity. The Nexari thought they were starting a war. Instead, they helped us build a foundation for peace. In the days that followed, the news spread across the galaxy. Humanity had not only emerged as a technological power, but had fundamentally changed the nature of interstellar politics. The phase technology they shared became a symbol of a new approach to galactic civilization, one where advancement came through cooperation rather than conquest. Dr. Patel continued to work with Atlas, using the AI's vast processing power to help coordinate the technological exchange between worlds. Shadow Squadron began training pilots from former Nexari subjects, sharing not just the technology, but the philosophy behind it. And Admiral Reyes found herself at the center of a diplomatic revolution, helping to shape the protocols that would govern this new galactic alliance. The price of victory hadn't been measured in ships destroyed or territory gained, but in minds changed and boundaries broken. Humanity had revealed itself to the galaxy not as conquerors or victims, but as innovators and peacemakers. As the last Nexari ships departed Earth's solar system, now bound by treaties rather than conquest, Admiral Reyes stood in the Artemis observation dome. The stars seemed different now, not distant points of light, but bridges to a future that no one, human or alien, could have predicted. "Ready for what comes next?" Dr. Patel asked, joining her at the viewport. Reyes nodded, watching as Shadow Squadron performed one final phase shift salute, their ships briefly ghosting into the space between spaces. Humanity spent centuries looking up at the stars, wondering if we were alone. Now we know the truth. We were never alone. We were just waiting for the right moment to join the conversation. The battle was over, but humanity's greatest adventure was just beginning. They had changed the rules of warfare, technology, and diplomacy in a single stroke. Now came the real challenge. building something new from the foundations of that change. The galaxy would never be the same. And that was exactly what humanity had been planning all along.